Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Parmesha, Department of Botany, St. Joseph's University, Bengaluru.
Welcome to the Botany Open Elective course Gardening and Landscaping Technology.
So now we'll talk about terrace gardening. Okay. So what is terrace gardening? Why it is required? Okay. Yeah, this is terrace gardening. Just it is a representative picture. Apart from that, you can see very beautiful terrace garden pictures if you search in the net. Okay. Yeah, you see here. So there is a different places wherever they get place and they'll make use of those spaces. See here, use old bottles and cans here, consent of space to make hanging pots, and again see here with lawn and relatively small shrubs. You can see banana plant. Okay, they grow banana plant on the terrace. So why actually we require this type of, why people go for this? Why? Because in today's urban environment, high-rise buildings, parking areas, network of roads have acquired major urban land. See here, okay. So if you see, okay, the major urban lands are used for this purpose. Maybe these are all once upon a time, okay. So relatively a good forest or good green space, but gradually these things are actually replaced by these buildings. Okay, so buildings, parking areas, and network of roads. Of course, Bangalore is relatively better, we have some greenery, but in some cities you can't find that too. In such congested environment, a rooftop garden or terrace garden, okay, that means rooftop and terrace of those building provided valuable potential source of outdoor spaces accessible to user for building. Okay, so that means, yeah, of course I built, okay, some 100 flats here, okay, so 100 houses here, but each 100 houses roof is again free space for me, just like what it is in the ground. But only thing is we lack of nutritive, I mean fertile soil. Apart from that, almost space is same, except if you remove some space for road. Again, road we can plant few trees, but whatever the leftover space in the terrace, again we have to so convert that into so greenery, okay, by providing a soil. In the same site below there is a soil, fertile soil, but once they build the house, so it will high rise building, so but same area is there in the up but without fertile soil, so we have to replace that with some soil and grow plants, so then actually we can match. The need of terrace garden has increased with increased number of high rise building which deprive their occupants of any visual contact with nature. So this is a major thing, okay. Even in the very first class I told this, so when we have started about gardening, okay, introduction to gardening, so because of high rise buildings, so many trees were cut, so we lost actually contact with nature. Okay, so day to day type what we are seeing, the greenery is actually disappeared. So just to the bring back, okay, so people go for vertical gardening and terrace gardening. Additionally, why rooftop garden is actually demanding, the factors which make rooftop garden important part of architecture throughout the world is full use of terrace, which is normally discarded area of crowded cities. Yes. So before it was like this, okay? It was a like a kind of discarded area. Okay. So in the terrace, what we are doing, generally we dump many things in the terrace. Okay. We never use or to dry our clothes. That's only two things we used to do. But now, so we can make use of the terrace for gardening purpose. Okay. So and maximum meaningful use of minimum available spaces. Again, that is a actually so aim of this terrace gardening, and economical way of balancing green space with uncontrolled growth of cement structures in urban areas. So why I am telling this? Because we know, in fact, in one of the classes we have studied urban heat island effects. Okay, so this will, okay, terrace garden and vertical garden will reduce urban heat island effect. So that means these gardens will provide, like a terrace garden or vertical garden will provide additional insulation to your building. Okay, additional insulation to your building. So then, so what is this urban heat island? Already I mentioned. Okay, so urban heat islands will occur when cities replace natural land cover with dense concentrations of pavement, buildings, and other surfaces that absorb and retain heat. Okay, you can see here. Okay, so this effect increases energy cost for air conditioning, air pollution level, and heat related illness and mortality. I see here, so they made one graph. Okay, so it starts from rural area to urban area to, again it will go suburban area to rural farmland. So as you go from rural, see the temperature is in Fahrenheit and this side it is in centigrade. See, so when you are there, okay, uh, relatively less, okay, less than 30. So when you are there, rural farmland and rural area. As you move to city, as you reach the high-rise building, the metro city, the temperature will be so more than 30. Okay, so more than 30, 33. Okay, some cities it reaches even 92 degree Fahrenheit. So that means what happens here? This dense concentration of buildings, okay, they absorb heat and retain the heat. Okay, so they absorb heat and retain the heat. So that's why it's a more temperature. So to overcome that, we have to use continuously. You have to use fan or air conditioning. Okay, so if you use air conditioning, at least again release of chlorofluorocarbon, again pollution, and again heat related illness. So what is the solution? Okay, we can't like demolish all the houses. Okay, let it be only one floor. We have to give space for people. Okay, and in fact in Bangalore, one metro city, we have more than 1 crore people, I mean population. Okay, so in 7 crore Karnataka, more than 1.3 crore is there in Bangalore itself. Okay, like that all these big cities, so they have majority 50% of the population, other 50% of the population is spread across Karnataka, rural Karnataka. So that means, so we have to so think of so converting this, okay, so urban areas, that concrete building into green space. That the only option left for us is so terrace gardening or vertical gardening. And in fact, I told this hanging gardens of Babylonia in the very first class when we are talking about gardening. This is not new to what we have done, what we are doing now. So it was actually it was there in 500 BC. So there's a question, then what is terrace gardening or what is terrace garden? A terrace garden is a garden which is established on a terrace, roof or patio, usually in a house where there is a limited gardening space. Okay, yes, you have a house. Of course, I have only 20-30 site. I have built a house, but there's no space for any greenery. Okay, so so in 20-30, what I can do? Okay, so the only option I can have greenery uh, is terrace gardening. Okay, so that's why terrace garden is a garden which is established on a terrace, roof or patio, usually in a house where there is a limited gardening space. Okay, so these types of terrace gardens are especially popular in urban areas. Of course, in urban areas only we require, okay, because so scarcity of land and high cost of land. If you go to village sites, so maybe the concept of terrace gardening is still not there, okay. Um, but in cities and in companies, institutes, okay, so these are industries, so many places they go for this terrace garden. Yeah, you can see here, okay, some of the so terrace gardening pictures, how they are making use of these plants and different plants we required. So maybe you can see here, okay, so some of the croton species, chlorophyton species, okay, and some lawn, okay, some lawn grass, and majority I told you some 15 plants I told you, like hanging or climbers you can use. And again here the green I told you, Duranta plumaris, okay, Tuja cupressus, those type of plants. Okay, so you can so go for that. So terrace gardens are commonly created at the three different level. One on rooftop, second porches, windows, boxes, okay, porticos, balconies, and any projected so levels from out of the construction, so you can grow that. And even at the podium level, around the base or on the roof of a large basements, you can grow. You can see here I have built a house, so I have some space like a podium, but of course I can convert that into garden. Okay, so these are the three levels we can go for this terrace garden. So that means not just on terrace, even so on the window sill, into boxes, if you have some projecting structure you can grow that. So when you go for terrace gardening, we have two types: extensive roof and intensive roof. Okay, that's a shallow roof and deep roof. Then first we'll learn about extensive, because so I want to grow few plants. I want to establish one terrace garden. You can't do straight away. You can go and plant. If you want to develop really good garden, you have to taking care of multiple things, because it will percolate lots of water and sometimes fertilizer. So that's why you should think of these things: extensive rooftop, intensive rooftop garden. Growing medium, it should be several layer. The rooftop should have vegetation layer, and it has to have a medium. It has to have some filter fabric. It has to have some moisture retaining structure. It has to have some insulation. Okay, so just to avoid heat, and also waterproofing membrane. Okay, so it should not percolate and leak to your house. Okay, so through any, it should not make any cracks, or it should not percolate to your house, and that should not lead to electricity shock, etc. Okay, and this you have to surface and slabs. Okay, you can see these are all many layers. See, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, almost some 7 to 8 layers actually we have to put if you really actually go for scientific type of roof garden or terrace garden. You want to go for lawn. Okay, so lawn is not just so spreading, okay, loads of soil, okay, fertile soil on the terrace and grow the grass. No, not like that. You have to maintain and you have to take care of all these things. Okay, otherwise, so these plants or roots or water or minerals, whatever you are providing, so that might crack your terrace. Okay, so that leads to leakage. So that's why we have to make waterproof, shockproof, insulating, everything. Okay, so we need to maintain this layer. So this layer, so based on our requirement, what type of plants we have to grow, so we should go for two types: extensive rooftop and intensive rooftop. Okay, the extensive is a shallow, very thin. Intensive is a deep. It's a thin growing medium, little or no irrigation, so not much irrigation required. And this is relatively stressful condition for plants. Okay, because so thin layers and very little irrigation, where we can go for the plants which require less water. And low plant diversity, yes, okay, in thin low plant diversity. And depth is 70 to 120 millimeter. Okay, so 120 millimeter is maximum, is 12 centimeter. Okay, so half a foot. Okay, so around half a foot size. Weight is almost on average 100 kg per square meter. Okay, so this much weight actually we are putting on a terrace. Okay, so this is extensive roof. Okay, so because some house we built without pillar, or some house we built though with pillar, but we never thinking of gardening. In those cases, you should not go for intensive roof. Okay, because it's a relatively huge, so it might affect in the longer period. Okay, so that's why in those cases you can go for extensive or shallow type of roof garden. And next one is a intensive roof. It's a deep roof. Here, though we have a same layers, okay, similar layers whatever we have in extensive roof, but here, okay, we the medium is relatively more here, so we can grow plants. Okay, so diversity of plants, and nutrients and water is available plenty, and much more deep rooted plants we can grow. The anchorage capacity will be more here. Okay, so if you see, it's a deep soil, it's irrigation system. Okay, for this type, so you have to provide water regularly. More favorable condition for plants. Okay, and you can see high diversity, high plant diversity. Okay, and depth is 1.5 meters, so it's almost like a 4.5 feet, up to 5, relatively 5 feet. Imagine that. Okay, so that much load we have to put, 200 kg per square meter. We should not like follow this very house. To build this house itself should be planned before construction. So number of pillars we're going to put, the strength of the pillars. Okay, So these things should be calculated so before going for this intensive roof. Apart from that, institutes and companies, okay, so they uh, build the quality like pillar construction is relatively huge. Maybe there you can practice this intensive roof garden. Okay, you can see, you can compare that. Okay, extensive garden and intensive roof garden. So when it comes to vertical garden, you need to so mention a few points regarding this when it comes to exam. So then, are there any advantages and disadvantages for this intensive and extensive roof garden? Both have advantages and both have disadvantages, but it is up to you. So based on the availability of space, okay, you can decide is it better to go for extensive roof or is it better to go for intensive roof. In some days, sorry, in some places they mix this, they grow. Okay, half of the place they go for extensive and remaining half they go for intensive. Some portion they go for intensive, some portion they go for extensive. Okay, in extensive shallow type, lightweight, suitable for large areas, low maintenance and long life, no need of irrigation, I mean frequently, so no need of specialized drainage system because water won't much stagnant there. So suitable for retrofit project. So vegetation can be spontaneously, grow spontaneously, relatively inexpensive, looks more natural. Okay, so this is like so normal ground. And what is the disadvantages? Less energy efficient. Okay, so because it may not, I mean, completely insulating or cool our houses, and more limited choice of plants. Only shallow rooted plants you have to put. Deep rooted plants won't reach; they might die, and unattractive in winter. Okay, so that is the only three disadvantages. And on other hand, intensive roof garden, what are the advantages? Greater diversity of plants because availability of nutrient, media, soil, okay, all other things. It's almost, I told you, 1.5 meter depth. Okay, so that's why you can grow different types of plants. So that's why it's a greater diversity. Good insulating property. If you really have this intensive roof garden below house, in summer you don't require, okay, so AC or fans, and visually attractive because different types of plants and flowering plants. Okay, and you can use for both recreation purpose and also for growing food. Okay, you can completely have the very beautiful landscape. How you can see on the down, I showed you, I showed the first picture. Okay, it's exactly you can do that, and more energy efficient, and there's water retention capacity and longer membrane life. Okay, so you establish this, it will be there for long time. Okay, so in extensive, so there may be chances the drainage of water, okay, the drained water to become kind of shallow soil, but here it always like agriculture soil will be in the agriculture land. Disadvantages, what is the disadvantages? Greater weight loading on roof. Yeah, so because see there it's a half a foot, here it is a approximately 5 foot per square meter. So that indicates that, okay, it's a heavy load. And need for irrigation and drainage system required because frequently you have to give water. So of course you have to think of that in Bangalore. Okay, so getting water and so daily providing water to those garden, and for that you need water, you need energy, you need materials, and maintenance cost is relatively high, okay, compared to extensive rooftop. But again, up to you. So based on your income, based on your interest, based on what type of house you have, what type of companies if you, I mean, working for. Okay, so these are all matters. So, and sometimes companies will themselves they'll invite you to establish a rooftop garden. So and for them, so they have a separate budget for that to maintain this garden. Okay, so just to avoid many ACs and fans inside the office, so they grow garden on the rooftop. So additionally, it's a for both purpose. Okay, so recreation purpose. Okay, as well as they may go grow vegetables and colorful flowers, but below, so no AC, no fans. Okay, so they can balance both, and also it's a kind of sustainable, they can certify themselves. Okay, so we are the people, we are doing this greenery thing, something like that, they can get certificate. Okay, so that's why it's up to you. You have to decide what to choose. for this purpose. Okay, so extensive and intensive roof gardens. And there are some components, green roof system components. Okay, so green roof system components, I told you in the previous case. Okay, so here, okay, extensive, intensive, these layers. So what is there in that layers? Okay, you can see green roofs consist of both horticultural elements and traditional roofing components. So there are three distinct layers in a green roof from the bottom. So namely structural layer, growing medium, vegetative layer. These are the three. Okay, structural layer, growing medium, and vegetative layer. So, but again, this structural, growing medium, vegetative layer again subdivided. Okay, so only structural layer has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 layers. Okay, out of 8, these 6 layers will be considered as a structural layer, and growing media is another one. Plants, the vegetative layer. Okay, you can see here roof deck, waterproof membrane we have to put. So, and root barrier, because root should not reach and damage the concrete of your roof. And insulating layer, you have to put insulating layer. Okay, uh, again drainage layer. Okay, again you should not affect your house the stagnant water. Okay, and there's a filter mat, and after that you can use growing media. Okay, so growing media, so again I told you, I suggested and we discussed growing media, different types of growing media. Okay, and again plants, so plants is again based on your interest. If it is a shallow type, so extensive, you can go for different types of plant. If it's intensive, you can go for different types of plant again. So if you really go for growing some food along with flowering plants, you can go for that too. Okay, so because whatever vegetable you grow, so that will be useful for you. Roof deck, important layer which can be concrete, wood, metal, plastic, gypsum, and is capable of taking the load of the green roof. Okay, this one, the last one, you can see here, roof deck. And waterproofing, so to keep the unwanted moisture from the rain and condensation away from the structure below, you should not go to the structure. And insulation restrict the transfer of heat energy through the roof by creating a barrier between spaces of different temperature. Okay, so this is again playing a major role. Okay, this insulation system is really helps to avoid the heat energy to pass through our house. Okay, pass through the concrete and reach our living room. And protection layer, as green roofs contain living and growing material, a protection layer and root barrier are one of the most important elements of the assembly. So otherwise, so they will damage, they will reach the ground. So you don't know, so many buildings if you see in different places, you might have seen the fig tree. Okay, so the common example you can see, it will reach any wall. Okay, so either concrete or brick wall. Okay, so gradually it will damage entire house. Okay, so that's why protection layer is very important. And drainage and retention layer. Okay, drainage allows moisture to move laterally to the green roof system. It is a porous continuous layer over the entire roof surface just above the concrete slab. Okay, so because whatever the water comes down, maybe when you irrigate or when there is a raining, okay, the water has to go laterally, okay, from the surface of the terrace. So otherwise the stagnation of water will leads to, okay, so various other problems for the roof, and it will become space for pathogens. Okay, we need to avoid all those things. And roof permeable filter layers, so again this layer separates the growing medium from the drainage layer and protect the medium from the shifting and washing away. Okay, so that's actually again required. And last, growing medium, we can use coco peat, peat moss, perlite, vermiculite, etc. Whatever I told in the class, and some I told how we can prepare also. Okay, and last one is vegetative layer, various herbs, shrubs, and small trees, even climbers. Okay, so that's up to you. Some vegetable plants, so some flowering plants. Okay, so those things we can decide what you want to grow on your rooftop. Okay, with this I end my class. I acknowledge various photographs and information whatever I have taken from the books and website. Finally, I thank my students so for your interest, for your cooperation, and for your active participation during the class.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe the channel for more videos. Thank you.